So to carry on, after the installation of MySQL connector for the .NET environment, now what we need to do is add a reference to this project that will show it to MySQL client or the connector that we just installed. So what you have to do is you right click on your project, like in the Solution Explorer tab, you right click on your project rather, or you can just click on project menu. From this main menu, click project and look for add reference, but I prefer using this one, add reference. And under the add reference pop-up dialog box, you just select depending on the version you're using. As for me, I'm using the Visual Studio 2012, the recent one. This is the layout, but for the previous Visual Studios, Visual Studio 2010, Visual Studio 2008, the appearance is rather different. But what you have to do is you have to look for a tab with the .NET, a tab written .NET on it. You just collapse it and search for mysql.data. It's a DLL file. Search for that. If you're using Visual Studio 2012 like I'm doing, you go under the extensions, and then under the extensions you look for mysql.data. It's a DLL file. Then you click on it like so, and then after you click on it, click OK. Then I prefer saving everything that I do. So what happens then is you now can import. So you now can import the MySQL client onto your project, but I'll have already done that, so we'll have to do it again. So let me remove all this stuff for your sake. Delete. So we want to code this button, the save button or the add button, whatever you call it. So double click on it, and this little code that I've just placed is a validation code to see if no text or no detail has been given in all of the text boxes. A message box supposed to show. Mind you, the validation is not part of our tutorial here. You can ask if you have specific questions, like you want to know how to make the password field here and confirm field match. You want to include it, how to include it in the code. You can leave a comment, then I'll look at them. So right now the code is the validation code that is present. A message box appears which says provide all details, like what's in the code, So if I click again, a message box appear like what's on the code. So okay, now to move on, now we want to connect our data now, our database to this project now. So what happens is you imports MySQL .data .mysql client, and you can see, I believe you saw everything. Yeah, import what the IntelliSense, just to show you that you've really the connector you have installed is working. An IntelliSense with MySQL appears. So import MySQL .data .mysql client, And also, just to be sure and safe, you have to import system data dot data. Okay, and make a public declaration of a connection. So dim, I'll call this mycon. There is new MySQL connection. MySQL connection, and this is the statement that is going to tell Visual Basic.NET to connect to the database using the namespaces that we have imported above here. So you write server is equal to localhost, since we are just operating on our machine on this computer. So localhost, and after that server localhost, they have to be between these string codes. If you're not so new in programming, they have to be between the string codes. After localhost, you put a semicolon, not a comma, semicolon, and then user ID with a space. The user ID equal to the user ID of your database, the one that you used, and then semicolon, the password that you used, and then semicolon, and lastly the database that you want to connect to at that instant. So I want to connect to my database called user, the one that we created earlier on. And then you can also make other declarations, public or private, but I prefer making the command declaration, the MySQL command declaration, making it private within this button, within the button procedure, the sub procedure rather. So I'll make another declaration, dim cmd is new MySQL command. MySQL command is new. Mind you, you sometimes if you leave out the new, you will get errors. So copy exactly as it is new MySQL command, and after we get into the if loop, if the text boxes are not empty, then else, right? Else what? We could add on extra validation functionality, but we just want to get straight to the point. So what we are going to do is add a try catch statement. A try catch is much more easier to give, since it easily gives you any problems. If you have one with the connection, they will be cleared out. So okay, to carry on, in the try catch, let me put some space here. In the try catch command, we have to open a connection to that database. So how do we do this? MyCon, the one that we declared earlier on, dot open. Then we have opened a session. We have opened a session to connect to that database. What else? Then we add cmd. Cmd, mind you, is our MySQL command. Cmd dot connection. Cmd dot connection is equal to mycon. Cmd command text dot command text. Command text here will be referring to the SQL statement that we are going to use in relation with the database. We'll end that later. And then cmd dot execute non-query is a method, and then a message box to show that our data has been saved. Our data has been saved. You can put this any way you want. And after saving the data, what do we want? We need to close our connection. You will see the purpose as your project grows, many connections will be opened, and when a project runs with an open connection every time, it will come to a time then when it won't uh, access your data in a database, giving new errors. So every time you open a connection, you have to close it. And some of the few tricks maybe that you can use. What happens after saving? The text boxes must be cleared. It ain't nothing special though, but I love it that way, so I'm going to do it. You can do the way you want it to. Okay. So in our cmd.command text, we add insert into person. Person, mind you, is our table, the one in that database. Values, which values? The one that we are going to get from the text boxes. So insert into person values. Person is our table, and then we have to write the fields within person in the first brackets. So it's the first name, the surname, the username, and the password. Insert into person first name, surname, username, password, the values like the one that follow. And mind you, in the second bracket, you have to put these strings, single character quotes. Then within the single character quotes, you put double quotes, and then comma. You do the same for the number of text boxes that you're using. I hope you understand here, because this is one of the things that can make your code not to execute the way you expect it to. And then we have to concatenate with the text that we get from the text boxes. So how do we concatenate in Visual Basic? Is that way. Text box 1, you use the ampersand, the text. I'll pause here. So this is our code, and you have to concatenate the text box values, the values that we are going to return from the text boxes, and then they will be inserted into these fields. So quickly we serve, then we try to compile. Don't be afraid. I'm going to include the code at the description section of my video. So what we're going to do is add Tunderai Marumba. The username is Duncan, maybe, and then leaving is our password. Leaving, and then okay. Once this message box appears, then it shows that the data has been saved and the text box automatically get cleared. So we believe a new entry is in the database now. So we come back here and you execute. You see, Tondere Marumba Duncan Living has been added, and also you can look via the command prompt. So use user, and then select all from person. You see, Tonderai Marumba Duncan Living has been added. So thank you for watching YouTube.